Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Mark on TCG Discussions. Welcome today to the Ultimate Blackbeard Guide 2? No, it's just going to be 2. But I've done a previous guide on the channel, and it's not even going to be anywhere near to the depth that this guide is hoping to achieve. A few clearinghouse things before we get into the guide. Number one, there are going to be things that are mentioned in this guide that are playstyle dependent to what I do. And there are things that I'm going to talk about, especially when we get into the matchup section, that will be geared toward the knowledge of the playstyle that I play and what I'm achieving to do principally through what I've developed. I think the theory around it's very good still. I think you can still learn something from it, even if it's different from what you're relying on or do. Number two, this guide will be released in sections. So this isn't going to be like we're going to go through all of every single matchup, how you need to play it across the board, what you need to do, everything like any of my previous videos. We are in depth, turn by turn, going to break down for you what is going on in this guide. And then we will pick up different play patterns, discuss some alternate lines in some of them. The key thing that we're going to be looking for is absolute formula ways to win with Blackbeard. That is to say that if you get these certain play lines or you do this certain type of strategy and you see these cards in this succession, you are going to be successful. And Blackbeard is the only deck basically in this game that can do that. It's not to say that like cards on curve are dominantly winning, but due to our leader effect and stopping and preventing other on plays of our opponents, we actually have winning formulas that if we see these cards in sequence, there's basically nothing they can do. That is something that Blackbeard has that no other deck does, which is one of the reasons why I play the deck and why I wanted to make this guide to help share what those formulas are and what you should be kind of looking for in the matchups. The number three, I'm obviously not going to cover every strategy ever that was out there, right? So if you have something to offer or something you want to say, or I forget something or I don't mention something, just leave it in the comment section down below and give this community and this quote-unquote masterclass or guide, whatever you want to call it, your knowledge and insight to something. If I say something that you think is off or wrong, challenge it respectfully, and I'll engage, and hopefully the community can engage and you guys can see. Without further ado, let's get into it. Blackbeard as a deck. Blackbeard is a hyper-consistent control deck that relies on tempo plays, turning off on plays of the opponent, plays sticky bodies, Burgess, OP10 Kuzan, for example, and relies on getting to the late game to play 10 cost each. Okay, so that is just basically the overarching what the deck is trying to do and achieve. In doing so, the tempo plays rely on these removal cards. So we got Q, Black Hole, OP10 Liberation, and Shiryul, and these will be the in-house cards that you primarily rely on. And then our outside removal, Finger Pistol, it's a mainstay, Jack and Kaido, they're a little bit more niche. Jack and Kaido were more 09 based, but you didn't really see Kaido that much, if at all, but he is an option available to the deck because he's got an activate main for his removal. I thought that it's worth mentioning to leave in the background, but Jack in 09 was definitely a card that popped up here and there. So our reducers, we have Van Augur, Stronger, Laboon, Tempest Kick. Tempest Kick is primarily an 09 tech, and it provides removal and trigger removal that is just broken. I think that overall, if Tempest Kick had a place in 010, which I don't think it really does right now, but if it did, the trigger would be very good against the aggro matchups, plus the reduction that we get out of it. I mean, I think that the trigger was kind of like broken against like Doflamingo in 09. Getting that draw was basically what Kuzan was doing for us before. So I really like this card, but for right now, I think that people are shifting a little bit more to Laboon in 010, if they're playing that at all, and then Shiryul is definitely taking the place of what this card would be. Consistency cards, Blackbeard gets his consistency from Foreled, This Is My Era, and Lafitte. Those are like your primary 3 cards that you're going to play, but the deck also has other ways to get cards. So additionally, Blackbeard gets extra draws from Stronger, Van Augur, Q on KO, and finally the Kuzan ability in OP10. Some tech cards that I want to talk about, and as far as OP10 is concerned, I bid 500 million. This card is very good as a trigger to bounce Burgess in the mirror and act like 8 copies of Shigan. So this trigger specifically can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, or return to the owner's hand. It also can replace Q. And so how that works is you can KO up to an opponent's character with 1 or less, return a card 1 or less, place up to one of your characters 1 or less at the top or bottom of their life, and the last effect you're never going to get because it involves having a Celestial Dragon on board. But but a lot of people play this for the trigger. They're basically trying to go for like 8 finger pistols in the life. It has the same KO effect for .Q, so it's going to replace that. And I really think that Appster deserves a shout out for this, making it very popular. It's very good because you can pitch it off of Hachinosu or Foiled, and you can also pitch it off leader effect if you draw it in hand. So that's pretty good. Katarina Devon is a great blocker worth taking now, I do believe. I think playing maybe 1 or 2 isn't too bad in 010. She outright wins games if she lives in normal scenarios that don't result in her dying due to her double attack. This is a card that if you're playing against Blackbeard and they play it, you do need to watch out for. She also gives BB a new attack pattern line of pressure. So if you can end the game because this double attack will hit and then like stack the rest of your Dawn on your Blackbeard and win the game, that's what I'm talking about. If your opponent's at 2, for example, and they have 2 cards in hand, you can put 3 Dawn on her, swing for that double, and then basically out of 5k leader 9, they're gonna have to take it. They get 2 cards. Now the max that they can have in their hand to counter out is 13. You just dump the other 7 on a 10 cost each, and now you're swinging 17 for game. So do not underestimate double attack on this card. It can absolutely win games and provide attack patterns that normally Blackbeard cannot use, like whatsoever, and other attack sequences that would be very, very rough, right? You could go 9, you could go 11, and then maybe a stack on the teach and kill that way in the same scenario that I just talked about. But depending on like the trigger and what you have, you may not get the job done. So like, for example, if you're playing against Shanks and they hit a Red Hawk trigger, reduce the teach all the way down, but you still have your leader swing with 7 Dawn, you may get there with the leader swing with the other 7 Dawn. None of this is really possible if Katarina Devon doesn't have this double attack. So she just provides an alternate pattern in that scenario, just basically being there. Also, that blocker in the mirror can't be removed, which is also very, very annoying. So new cards from OP10. Liberation is newest and probably most important tool that Blackbeard gains in order to play his game plan. Decks that typically go wide in order to beat Blackbeard get significantly punished by going wide too fast. Dofi, for example, can just lose 2/4 costs of this event for having both of them and multiple 1-drops on the board. This just alleviates a lot of pressure and gives Blackbeard a new tool to handle this strategy. This is a much needed tool and a boon for the deck to survive. I personally play 2 of this card in my list. I think that it is great in the matchups where it's bad. Much like I bid, you just pitch it off of leader effect or you pitch it off of your stage. And then additionally, in the matchups where it's good, it's a searchable 2-card out. Matchups that it's good, Purple Luffy, Zoro. It can be somewhat good against Lim. It's very strong against Bella Betty. It's very strong against Doflamingo. By the way, your 5 worst matchups. Kuzan is a necessary card in addition to Blackbeard. This card acts as a revival tool, is extremely sticky, and a Swiss Army knife for Blackbeard to address multiple situations. Due to his effect that he cannot be removed by your opponent's effect, it makes it so that removing this card is extremely hard. You basically have to negate this effect first and then get rid of it, and the only deck that really does that, I believe, to my knowledge, is the mirror. You can rest also if you want to get rid of him in another way, rest and attack into him or negate his effect before you try to get rid of him, like I said. So green may be able to do something about this, so you have to kind of like watch your spots. If you play against like Bonnie or you hit a trigger after playing this to really thinking that it's just safe, I'm going to trigger rest him, that can be a way that your opponent gets rid of the card. You're going to be forced to tag out into whatever it was immediately. His draw effect is a much needed replacement tool to grab a card that fits the situation, can be used to set up new attack patterns with a card and replace it with Van Augur, .Q, or Burgess that will provide removal or a big cards to swing with. Additionally, when .Q and Van Augur are removed, you get to draw another card. That is just one of the reasons why this card is so powerful. It replaces itself, and the card it gets also replaces itself, plussing you, right? Which is very, very good. The trick with this card, though, in a litany of situations, and we'll get into more specific ones, but I just want to say this outright, is mastering what cards you're wanting to pull from the trash with this card's effect and setting up future turns with this card. An example is killing a Monkey D-Dragon. Let's say Zoro or Shanks is going to play down a dragon on the following turn. You can play this card down and Shanks and Zoro basically cannot remove the card. The card you're going to use to get rid of them is a combination of Shigan and a Van Augur. What you could do is you can swing with the Kuzan, tag it out, draw a card, play the Augur effect to reduce the dragon, play Finger Pistol, and then get rid of it. If you're on 8 Dawn and you do that line, you can, at that juncture, also play a Burgess next to the Van Augur, setting yourself up very nicely. Now, this is just a niche out. out to a very, very annoying card. And you basically remove a lot of your opponent's aggression and tempo in that line specifically. And this is just one of the many ways that you can use this to set up for situations. And we'll get into those specifically when we get into specific matchups. A new card that is seeing and making waves is Shiryul. Shiryul is a rather under the radar card. Initially, people don't really understand, and I still don't think they really do. I think a lot of players that play against Shiryul understand this, but a lot of people sleep on like the overall value that this card is providing throughout a match, and especially in a matchup like Shanks or another one. During your opponent's turn, he gains 2k, making him a sticky 7k to attack over. This will just basically mean that they will never attack the card. Additionally, the turn he's played, he can KO 3 or less with his activate main. Unfortunately, it's only original 3 costs or less, but this effect is actually broken in several matchups, okay? So let's just name a few. Lim, for example, if I'm going second and they play the 1-drop on curve, I'm looking to play this card immediately to kill the 1-drop and swing over it with my leader. This way, they don't have the ability to just flat out keep using their leader effect over and over and over again. You also would like to play .q, use .q's effect to do whatever, and then hopefully swing over the card there. That's just another way, but that's one way that this works against Lim. Otherwise, the rest of the time he's pretty garbage against Lim, and to be honest. However, against decks like Shanks, this card, when you turn off the leader ability, is a 5k poke, and they're de-incentivized to attack over the card because of his 7k power, right? It's just not dawn efficient for them to attack into and over this card to get rid of it without like a high cost card that's going to cost me cards in hand. But the fact that he's 7k, it basically means he's a lot easier to defend than my life. You know, keeping him around as that extra beat stick is really good. He's really necessary against the low to the ground matchups. That would be like Zoro and Belabetty. Belabetty specifically at killing the 1 cost, killing the Kuma, killing the blocker dude, and any other like 3 cost. I think Morley is a 3 cost. That's like a set of examples. Against Doflamingo, he's hitting all the 1-drops. He's hitting the Teach, which is really strong, and providing this body, right? So for a 4 cost 5k, this is not bad. It could be teched as a one-off if you wanted to and brought back off Kuzan when the situation needed to just remove a chump blocker. And I think that like if you don't like this card, you should still play it as a tech one-off, and that's why I put it in there. So I know that there was a list recently that topped that just got rid of this card entirely. I think most lists right now are playing it at 3 to 4, and this really helps in the low to the ground matchups, right? Just really, really helps. Basically, it's almost every card in Zoro that's like not Dragon and Luffy, which is like super crazy, right? And then a new card from OP10. This is a little bit more troll, but it's Jesus Burgess, OTK. Abster tried it for a while. Again, shout outs to him. I watched his gameplay of it. It's actually super funny when you actually pull this off, but this card can be brought back off Kuzan, and basically you want to get multiple copies of this and multiple Kuzans on the board. So what you'll do is you'll like swing 5 like on the kill turn, then tag it out for Burgess, attack it on, swing 7. Then swing 5, bring another one back, attach it on, swing at least 7, right? And because the Kuzans can't be removed very easily, this actually could just flat out steal the game. Like you're fine, and then you're just completely not fine. He's addressed Rosa as well, so you can play Kongun with him, which I think is also completely troll. If you have 15 of the trash, you get what would be 7 with Rush plus another 6, 13k double on one of these, which is just absolutely crazy. It's pretty nuts. It's a pretty nutty combo, but overall, I think that it's pretty niche. But if you want to get spicy, you can maybe tech in the Rush card to steal a game that you may not win, right? So Blackbeard's game plan. As stated before, Blackbeard is a control tempo deck that relies on removing your opponent's characters and shuffling powerful ones of your own in the late game. Early game, removal is key to stopping your opponent's aggression and stopping on-play effects to counter your board, future effects, or net them advantage. And I can't stress this enough. If you're not really key on trying to do this and you're trying to like race in spots where you know that like you're not good, or you should know that you're not good and you're not better, you will lose. And there is a massive skill gap with this deck. The good players with this deck can navigate even hard matchups that are just completely winning. The bad players basically rely on 10 cost Teach, the stop of the on play, but they are so dominantly winning by getting to that late game, and they just kind of luck out. You know, I had somebody recently tell me that like Blackbeard and Shanks are basically the same equivalents and easy to play because because once you start playing teaches, you just win the game. The thing that's wrong about that statement is that everything that leads up to the teach and what you do after it's on the board are completely and utterly the hardest thing to figure out for each matchup, which is why we're making the guide, right? So I think that like a lot of people think, oh, you're just playing 10 cost teach and winning the game, right? You're really underestimating the value of matchup knowledge and how to play correctly against certain matchups. Blackbeard does eventually want to get to its cards to deal serious damage. Burgess, 10 cost Teach, Van Augur, and now Kuzan. Teach looks to get to them to inflict a finishing blow after the opponent has been dragged through the mud during the game or forced in the bad position because their game plan is offline. And your knowledge on how to do that is what will be key. It's what will be key. We're going to discuss curves, okay, for Blackbeard. Odd curves look like the following. So these are just generic overall curves of what you can be doing, what you should be kind of looking for. So on the odd curve, plating down Lafitte to search on the following turn, Hachinosu which is your field spell, and then this is my era. Easy. And we have a lot of 1-drops. I think my current list is playing 11. So we have a lot of consistency turn 1. Hopefully on our mulligan we can get something there. Turn 2, Dock Q, Vasco Shot, any of the above searches. And this can also be done with the 1-drop Lafitte, which is really nice. You can also just do the Lafitte search, hit era, hit stage, do that as well. So everything above it, right? 5 Dawn, we're looking to play Augur, Kuzan, Black Hole, Finger Pistol, Burgess, Laboon, if you play it. And I'm going to be honest with you, most of the time what I'm looking for is a Dock Q setup on the second turn, swing 5, and then getting some kind of Kuzan Augur line to respond to whatever 4 costs they've played, 3 costs they've played, 2 costs they've played, so on and so forth. This way I'm netting a card, and then both the Augur and Dock Q will draw me more cards if my opponent decides to get rid of them. 7, Jack, if applicable, no list plays on plus OP10 release to my knowledge. Liberation 6 cost event or any combination of the cards above it. 9, double Burgess, Kuzan Burgess, Van Augur with any removal or the combination above. So aka Van Augur Finger Pistol. This can get rid of your opponent's 8 cost. And then 10 cost Teach or any combination above. Curves are even. Follow lead. This is my era. Lafitte search. Double play him. If you have 2 Laffittes and your opponent is like on the odd curve, I actually would play just both Laffittes standing instead of just searching off one. And then what you'll do next turn is basically have both of these cards plus the attack go at your life, net you a card, net you another card. And then now your opponent's entire turn, like their third turn, better be getting rid of those cards. And if they don't have anything to get rid of them, they're basically passing the turn. If on that same turn you get a Dock Q, the only other cards on the board is a 1-drop. You'll play that, kill it, and now they have 3 cards to get rid of, and it's like absolutely busted and nuts. So just bear that in mind. Second turn, we're looking to Black Hole, Burgess, Laboon, Finger Pistol, or any combination above. You can see that like on the even curve, it's very, very nice and niche for Blackbeard to play in this curve line because we have a lot of even cost cards. We have a lot of odd cost cards that can shore up the even a little bit. Like you could Lafitte search and then play full lead. That's too Dawn, right? That's just really, really nice. It fits nicely. 6, Liberation event, Kuzan, Van Augur, or any combination above. 8, Jack, if applicable, not really so much anymore, but you can double Burgess or any combination above. And then 10 cost Teach or any combination above. And we get to Teach a turn faster. So that's always really good for us. So what do you need to know to play the deck? Blackbeard is the hardest deck in the game to learn, by far, master, and execute. I will not accept anybody else trying to tell me that their deck is more complicated than this one. Some of your best matchup, you dominate. BY, not so much anymore. Lucci, Enel, Shanks, Bonnie. Just to name a few. BY is like dead, probably not coming back, but so on. Lucci, Enel, Shanks, Bonnie. You dominate those. Others, you struggle immensely. Purple Luffy, Doflamingo, Boa, Zero, Bella Betty can be also tossed in there. You can struggle a lot against these decks, and you got to know how to play against them. Bottom line, if you don't know the difference between playing against Blue Doflamingo and Boa, you've got a problem. If you think that like it's just, oh, we play Burgess and get to Teach, and you don't need to be like worried about whether or not you can swing against Zero on the odd curve, or even to take odd from Zero in the first place, you're gonna lose, right? And it's just a very, very difficult deck to learn, master, and execute. Bottom line, each time someone sits down with a Teach deck, they must understand every play their opponent can do, opponent's general game plan, the tech cards that beat them for the color, game plans they have against their opponent, what they are looking for to see in each matchup or mulligan for, when to activate leader ability, mastering the end game, and when leader ability does not need to be activated anymore, severe game state specific awareness, curve plays and alternatives, and lastly, attack patterns and assessing going for game. If you don't know any of this stuff, or all of it, really, you're not going to be successful with this deck at a high level. You just won't be. All of this is true, right? Everything that I just said in this paragraph is something, if you don't have it drilled into your head before you sit down, if you don't know that against Marco, they're going to probably try to play either a Chopper or a Vonkov on 3, and that your best chance is to go second, and then you want to basically start negating their effects after, quote unquote, play that Ivankov or whatever, because you're kind of looking to starve, and that you need to have potentially an Augur line or a Shiryul in your hand to stop these cards from getting the value and attacking over them and starving Marco, right? You may end up losing games because you think, oh, I just need to wait till 9-cost Sanji to stop turning stuff off. But the entire time, they're just going super wide with small bodies, attaching a couple Dawn here and there, and then edging you out. And everything is important. And that's a favorable matchup first or second for Teach. But I just use that as an example. If you think only negating the 9-cost Sanji is only going to save your bacon in that matchup, you're wrong, because they have a lot of low to the ground body cards that can do a lot of damage to you if you don't look for the right cards, you don't get the right cards, you're not setting up for those cards to come in, and you're not planning around using your leader effect. So all that to say that it's a lot, right? And even though the information of what it takes to play Teach well is a lot, true mastery of this deck means you can master any deck in the game. Additionally, your matchups that you win, you feel like there are no real ways to lose the game minus you not playing well. And I absolutely mean that. If you understand what you need to win the game and you see it, you will start to see, especially as we go through different matchups, that there are actual winning formulas for you to win, and your opponent never had a chance. And it's one of those decks where the ball is truly in your court in order to win most of the time. The format will warp around you, and you will punish people for not knowing how to play their deck without the use of their on-play abilities. Literally, the difference between a good Doflamingo player and a bad one playing against you will be pretty self-evident. When you turn off on-plays, and everyone's used to like using all of their abilities, and they don't know what to do when they're like turned off, and they're like, oh, I'm just playing vanilla. Oh, I'm just playing bodies, playing vanilla. Like, I just got to keep doing the same thing. But then they start attacking over the wrong cards on your board, or they go for life and don't like attack over a card that they absolutely need to. An example of this, and there are several videos of this on the channel, are multiple CSs of Doflamingo players losing to Teach in 09, and they just basically never attacked over .Q. And on 2 different finals matches for Blackbeard to win those CSs, 10 cards were removed by the 2 .Qs played in those different matches. A total of 10. Not knowing that you need to kill the .Q is a pretty big deal, and just will result in you losing the game. And that's what I mean. So game plans against the meta. The rest of this will be different game plans to the best of my ability, offer advice to the best of my knowledge on how to play against each deck. Some of this will be opinion and my playstyle, as I stated at the beginning. Others will be just generic curve information, which you should be looking to do against each matchup. Some of this will be different based on the tech of each deck. Ergo, no matter what I say here, if someone you play plays on a tech card differently than the norm or ratios outside of the norm on a common card that is good against you, you may have to adapt outside of this guide or these guides. When I say that, you must understand the meta is pretty fluid in One Piece, especially for decks. Like Doflamingo is a great example. At the beginning of 010, the top end was Jozu. Last week, Doflamingo, 7 cost, and a person topped playing 10 cost Kaido. Now, they're looking to cut cards that were in there that weren't. At the beginning, it was 3K Worlds. Some of these lists aren't even playing it anymore. So you may have to adapt on the fly if you run in these situations. And keep a calm head and realize this may not affect you any differently if they had seen a different card. And it may be to your benefit to realize that it doesn't really change as long as you know the game plan, you're sticking to the game plan, and you're trying to play around it. So let's get into it. This is where this video is going to end. I wanted to pop this up. So these are leader matchups, and they are subject to evolve and change. I just want to go through each one. The top part of the percentage is what happens when Blackbeard will go first. The bottom part is what happens when Blackbeard goes second. The green means you're favored, and that is only occurring if you get over 50%. Red part is unfavored. So for example, against Shanks, if you go first, you have a 49.1% chance to win. I'm going to tell you the last 5 out of my 6 games that I've gone first, I've won. So if you know what you're doing, these odds go up. And I imagine all these percentages averages are of the whole and what people do. Against Shanks going second, you have a 59% chance to win. This is a little bit deceptive because it seems like you're mildly dominantly winning, and you are more winning because you get to teach faster in the matchup. But depending on what your opponent does and how good they are and what they're playing, this can be pretty rough. I'll give you an example of what makes it rough. Last night, I played a Shanks player that was playing the 7-cost Edward Newgate. And instead of playing like double Burgess, because of how the game had played out, I had to kill the Newgate on my 8th on turn. That is what I would call being responsible, right? The responsible thing to do is to get rid of the Newgate, because when you start playing teaches, you can just stop the one big card that they're playing. So if they play Dragon next turn, pitch for leader ability, they swing 6 on the 9, you give them a 2k, take the 9, and now you stun the Dragon with teach on 10. That would be how to respond to that situation. If you have the setup to do it, right, you had like Augur already on the board with Kuzan to tag into an Augur, and then you have Finger Pistol to get rid of it, or Liberation to kill the card because it's a 7-cost, you can then play a Burgess next to it. And then when you start playing teaches, you're just dominantly winning. That's an example. According to this, going first, you have a 40% win rate against Blackbeard and a 60% chance to win if you're going second. This is one of the most false things I've ever seen in my life. The most important cards in this matchup are generally Vasco Shot, and it's about who sees the win. For example, at Peoria, opponent activated This Is My Era, basically had to sack 2 of his Kuzans off of This Is My Era to grab his stage. That right there shifted, despite the fact that he went second, the game straight into my favor because he had 2 less Kuzans throughout the game for killing each other's Burgesses throughout. I ended up winning. Against the mirror, right? It's a lot more fluid. It's about what you see, who sees what, how fast they see it. A lot of these variables can change, and the person who goes first gets to attack. And make no mistake, dude, life in this matchup matters a lot. The person who's slapping the dog out of somebody throughout the entire game and basically plays the same game plan is also winning. And this is an advantage of going first in the matchup, right? Purple Luffy, going first, Blackbeard has a 50% chance to win. Going second has a 37.4% chance to win. Against Doflamingo, 37.2% chance if you go first, a 30.4% if you go second. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna have an argument for both of these, but I do prefer going first out after discussing it with my friend Seth and going over certain lines that I feel are very advantageous for Blackbeard given the build that I play, right? Against Zoro, going first, 35% chance to win. Going second, 44. Again, this is basically like the same thing, but for Doflamingo, and it's not entirely clear whether or not first or second is really this big of a difference. It's based on what you see, not really anything else. Lucci, I'm not really sure how this is possible, but first and second have the same percentages. It's just to say that no matter what, you just destroy Bonnie and Lucci because they're both basically the same. They're both great. But Lucci, I will also say this. Lucci is probably one of the most false positive matchups in the game because it's less on what you're doing and more about what they see. Now, there are certain dominant positions you can get into, but make no mistake, make absolutely no mistake, Lucci 100% can just trash you if they see like Kaido, Jack, and they have the ability to like kill a Burgess, make you discard a card, kill a Teach. You won't win the game. You're probably going to lose. Against Red Green Smoker, Teach has a 46% chance going first and a 50% going second. Again, this variance doesn't really change to me. This is one of those matchups where it's less about the fact that you went first and more about the cards, what you see, what they see. Bonnie, I can confirm this one though. And I'm gonna be 1000% honest with you. I think the percentages should flip here, but Bonnie going first or second is just dominantly losing for Bonnie if you see the right cards. I don't know how the going second rate drops because I will give you a formula on the second curve that is so devastating to Bonnie that if you see it, nothing they can do at all. There's absolutely nothing Bonnie can do. Lim, 47.5 going first, 37.6 going second. This is one of our tougher matchups, and on my last video, I know there was a subscriber or a commenter, I should say, that was talking about what should I play Laboon to tech into this. We'll talk about it when we get there, but I can say that going first is preferred here, but it's going to be based on what you see, because you can be dominantly winning going on the second if you just see what you need to see correctly. Red Purple Luffy, 52.9% going first, 62.4% going second. I can confirm that getting to teach faster is just better for you. They're going to ramp regardless, and it's better that you don't give them Bond Clay to ramp early. Reiju, 54.8% going first, 70.5% going second. I can confirm that's pretty true. I think the going first is a little bit worse for you though. They just have more Dawn to play with, and it can be pretty backbreaking. Usopp, if they're playing Sakasop, both of these drastically change because you're just dominantly winning over that entire matchup if they're playing Sakasop. If they're playing the King Kong build, 100%, you going first is and going second doesn't matter. But this is the issue if you go second. If you're going second and you set up double Burgess on 9 Dawn, when they go into 10, they can play Luffy and Kongun in the same turn and murder your Burgess. 100%. Even if you get double at that juncture on the 9 Dawn curve, you will possibly lose both of those Burgess, and it'll be very tough from there, especially if they have Kyros on the board. Now, the good news is in that line, and we'll talk about this when we get to Usopp in the guide section, but in that line, there are some things that are good for you in that scenario and ways that you're going to attack that specific strategy to get over you. But the Kong Gun variant is way harder if you're on the first curve versus going second, because on the odd curve for them, the best that Luffy can be is 9k, which is a lot easier depending on how fast your trash is built up. It may take you a card or two to prevent even one Burgess from dying in that scenario. Now, if they establish a Luffy beforehand, you need to watch out, okay? You just need to watch out. And then in terms of Captain Kidd, on first curve, 52%, on second curve, 66%. You're just beating this matchup because you stop on plays and they can't trash your life. Marco, 57% going first, 76.6% if you go second. I prefer to go either one. I'm very comfortable with this. Marco basically has to play an aggro strategy, and we can play out of it very well, right, on the second curve. The issue with Marco going second, though, is that he basically gets to play an odd curve card like Ivankov and still use leader ability, which is worse for us, and so it's better for us to take second from him. Before we get into everything else, we're going to stop the video here. These are your percentages. These are subject to update and change based on the rank ladder and what's going on, but I just wanted to provide you a base stat line. They won't diverge too far from this unless something wild comes out that just catapults one of these decks higher or lower, and you can leave a comment down below if there's some tech that comes out and we'll adjust it from there. The next deck that we're going to talk about is Doflamingo, so look forward to that. And that will be part 2 of the matchup guide. I hope you guys are ready. I've been really excited for this, and it's been a long time coming. I'm really proud of the work that we've put into this guide. I'm really proud of the work going forward, and I really hope you guys learn a lot from this and are just as excited I am to take this journey. It's going to be quite the journey. One last quick mention here. Green Purple Luffy is not mentioned here, but it will be. I will do a special edition section adding to that and obviously discussing what you need to do when we get there into the EBO2 meta, which is right around the corner. It's gonna be like May 9th or something like that. So look forward to that. And thank you guys so much as always for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Let's do this. This is Marcus from TCG Discussions, signing off. Laters.
起きろ起きろ起きろ